In the previous video, we tore apart the dashboard of my 2020 Toyota Tundra to install this Rago fabrication dash mount plate. I wanted my climate control knobs to match the AJT Designs gear shift lever surround and everything else that I had put in. Here's a picture of the finished product, so let's take a look at what it takes to get this installed. Before you remove these clips, you need to use a Phillips screwdriver to remove the 6 screws from the back of this control panel module. Once the 6 screws are removed, there's 4 clips that you can pop open with a small flat screwdriver or a pocket knife like I'm using. Once you have the black plastic cover removed from the rear, there are 3 screws that need to be removed from this printed circuit board. Right now I'm marking where the controls are. If you have a 2020 Tundra though, you don't need to do this. The control wheels will spin in 360 degrees, so it doesn't matter where they're at. On an older model Tundra though, you need to mark where they're at, so that you make sure you put them back correctly. I just used a silver Sharpie, even though I didn't need to. I didn't realize that at the time. After a little bit of work, the circuit board comes out and we can just set that off to the side. Notice there are no screws holding the control wheels in place. This piece just sets inside the main control piece. I was going to start working on this piece here. I take the screws out. There's 2 screws holding in the small clear plastic rings that help the light disperse around the knobs for the climate control. Those need to be removed. Before I start doing that though, I figure I'm going to just go ahead and replace the pieces on the control knobs themselves, as that looks to be a little bit easier. The knobs just pop off with a little bit of work, and they come in 2 pieces. There's 4 clips on each wheel that need to be popped loose with a small flathead screwdriver. It takes a little bit more pressure than you maybe want to apply, and you almost feel like you're going to break something. Once you snap the AJT black plastic piece though onto the piece, just snaps right on. There is a notch you have to line up. I'll show you that on the second knob. I missed that on the first one, showing that to the camera. Doing the second one here goes by a little more quickly. You have a little more confidence in what you're doing. I'm going to use the workbench so I don't stab myself in the hand. With these pieces separated, we'll just set the silver pieces aside, and then we'll snap on the AJT piece. So now I'm going to show you how this lines up. Once you get it lined up, there's a pretty satisfying click as it snaps together. I'm going to give it a quick wipe down, get the fingerprints off while I have it out. I think this is going to look pretty good. Alright, so now we need to remove these chrome pieces from the front of the control panel. There's 3 pieces, 2 rings and the small bar in between. The kit you get from AJT is kind of a universal kit that will do a 20 Tundra and the older models. The older models have 3 rings and don't have the bar in between. So for my model Tundra, I have to look for the ring that is uniform all the way around, and that's the ring I'm going to discard. The 2 rings I'm holding in my hand are kind of lopsided. You can see they're a little thinner on one side. Those are the 2 I'm going to keep. The other ring won't be used, and I'll just set it aside. It's a little confusing on how to pop this centerpiece loose. I think it's easier if you take that piece out first. But there are 2 clips that hold it in. I start to look at that, and then I think it'd be easier to pop the plastic pieces out. As you saw before, I already took the screws out. And when you pop these 2 pieces loose, they do kind of spring right out at you, so you have to be prepared to catch them. This one goes shooting off into the air. I almost lost it. I don't know that it matters, but I'm going to keep track of which one goes on which side. And now we can work on popping these chrome surrounds out. So let's do this center one again that I was going to do earlier. I think I wasn't pressing hard enough with the flathead screwdriver. It does take a little bit of effort to get in there. It really feels like you're about to break something when you're doing this. Once you get used to how much effort it takes, though, it's pretty much the same for all the pieces. So now on the AJT piece, you'll notice that it says top on one side here, as I'm pointing out. That is obviously the top, and that's how we're going to slide this piece in. Now, I don't know if I should have waited until I got all the pieces out to put this in, but excitement got the better of me, and I wanted to see what it looked like. So I started sliding it in to see what it would look like, and it kind of just popped into place. A little more effort to get it in there solid, and I don't think it's coming out. I did have to bend the little plastic tabs back into place to hold it into place. Now I'm going to do the rings, and it looks like there's 4 clips that need to be released to release those the rings around the controls. At first I'm not quite sure how to do it, and I'm just kind of poking the screwdriver in there and pushing. What you really need to do is put the screwdriver in and turn it about 1/8 of a turn, and it'll release a plastic clip. I eventually figured this out after the 2nd or 3rd one. And then right there you can see I just turned the screwdriver slightly and the clip releases. I'm going to speed this up a little. Now when you pull the rings out, pay attention to how they're facing. One edge of the ring is a little narrower than the others. There is a slot that lines up as well to help you get it in correctly. Once again, I get excited about it and put the ring in place before showing you guys how to line up the slot. I'll do that on the second one. Yep, I think this looks pretty good. Let's get that other one out. Pretty excited to get this back in the truck. So now you'll see I'm going to show you the slot that lines up on the front face of the assembly. If I can find it. Here it is. So that's the only slot, and you'll see there's only one place that it'll fit in. So there's not really a way to put these in incorrectly. And they do just snap into place again. I double checked the back side to make sure I didn't need to bend any of those tabs back, and I didn't need to. So I set this back into the plate, and I was going to put some screws in, and then I remembered there weren't any screws holding it in. I actually had to go back and watch the video to see where the screws came out of. Also, after the fact, I realized I should have marked each screw that I took out of the printed circuit board with the silver Sharpie, because there's a lot of holes in this circuit board and not all of them get these screws, so there's only 3 that go in. All the rest of them go through the back of the plastic backing plate into the circuit board that hold everything together. So you want to make sure you just do the 3 that I'm doing right here. Now this plastic piece will snap into place, and then we've got 6 screws to put back in. So let's speed that process up here so you don't have to watch me do that. Just checking everything before I put all the screws in to make sure all the buttons feel like they're up against the circuit board properly and everything feels like it's working right. So I've got all the screws in at this point. Uh-oh, I think there's one left over there. Don't tell anybody. I'm going to keep all these chrome trim pieces with all the other pieces that I've ever removed from my truck. I keep those in a tub in my garage, just so that I can keep track of everything in case I ever want to sell it or trade it in. I can provide all the original parts. So here's what it looks like. And see how well it goes with that center console. I really like the way this looks. Next, I need to do the 4x4 knob, which I understand is a little bit of a process.